and Mrs. Janine Galbraith were administered the school board oath of office by me at the special organizational meeting of the Board of Education. On May 14th, 2019, it was brought to the school board's attention by Superintendent Coglanese that the version of the oath given did not include updated language issued by the Illinois Association of School Boards in January of this year. To ensure immediate resolution of this matter, the aforementioned board members were asked to retake the oath that same evening before the board's monthly committee of the whole meeting. Only 3 of the members were able to do so at that time. The 4th member has been sworn in before tonight's meeting. Please note that the original oath as administered was in conformity with section 10-16.5 of the Illinois School Code prior to its modification by Public Act 100-1055, which became effective on January 1st, 2019. The board policy on the topic did not change since the policy itself does not contain the language of the oath, but merely references an oath that an oath will be given as prescribed in section 10-16.5 of the school code. Lastly, the administration of the oath is not an action of the Board of Education and instead is a procedural component for individual board members to be considered qualified for office. Since the administration and/or taking of the oath does not involve an item for which action may be taken by the Board of Education, the Open Meetings Act does not require it to be listed on the agenda for a regular or special meeting. We apologize for any confusion resulting from this mishap. For any members of the public interested in viewing the IASB School Board Member Oath of Office, we have posted it to our district website at www.cm201u.org on the Board of Education page. Thank you. We now have roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Dr. Hall? Mrs. Root?
Here.
Mr. Sawalish?
Here.
Mrs. Walters?
Here.
Mrs. Galbraith is here. Mr. Albrecht?
Here. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Roop, would you read the mission statement?
Sure. Our mission statement is to ensure that every child is challenged to reach his or her full potential academically, socially, and emotionally as they grow and develop into thoughtful, productive, and contributing members of society.
Thank you. We have 2 public comments tonight. The first topic is community outreach, highlights of library and district partnerships by Heather Van Zyl. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
You did.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Heather Van Zyl. I'm one of the trustees at the Crete Public Library District. Our library staff is dedicated to community outreach. And today I come before you to highlight the many ways that the dedicated and talented staff of the Crete Public Library are stepping outside the walls of the library and into your schools to meet the needs and pique the interests of your students. The incredible youth services staff at the library visits 36 classrooms in the district on a monthly basis. They visit the ELC, Crete Elementary, Balmoral, and CSK for a total of just under 1,000 students met every month in their classrooms. The visits at the school are called book jams. The librarians who attend, they read books and provide suggested reading lists for the students in the younger grades. To enhance the experience, they use sound effects, rain sticks, different things like that, so it's a lot of fun. Miss April, with the older grades, 4th and 5th grade, she reads the first chapters of new books to those students to entice them to head to the library and check out those books and finish them. Themed lists of new and old books are also provided. For example, in February, Black History Month is honored. In March, Women's History Month is honored. And during the month of April, which is National Poetry Month, they bring the Beatnik Cafe to all of them and work on poetry and different things. Also, 2 STEAM programs were provided for 4th grade classes at Balmoral. The Youth Services Department also sponsors the Battle of the Books for students in grade 3 through 8th. This competition encourages students to read a variety of genres outside of school and compete as teams to answer questions about the books. For many years, CSK and Crete Monee Middle School have had a number of teams participate. They've placed in the awards, and so we want to congratulate all those students for just representing the district so well in the community. The librarians provide trophies and gift cards for the winners of these competitions, and the Friends of the Crete Library co-sponsor the event by providing custom t-shirts to all the participants free of charge. Crete Library also has a dedicated teen services department. Our teen librarian, Ms. Cassandra, visits students at the high school and at the Monee Education Center monthly for the lunch bunch crafts. She participated in Career Day and Humanities Night at the middle school and at open houses at both the middle school and at the high school. Our teen services department also sponsors Say Yes to the Prom Dress giveaway. So they collect and distribute prom dresses at no charge to help everyone have a special prom experience. The teen services department also mentors high school students through the Marian Engel Summer Teen Internship, which is designed to help teens not only with work experience, but also with resume writing and interviewing tips for future job opportunities. As an added bonus, this is a paid internship. So we also have an incredible partnership with the district special ed department. The Coffee Connection is a coffee shop located upstairs at the Crete Public Library. It's run completely by post-grad students. They serve coffee and other drinks and snacks to patrons of the library. It's for sale. And they also have a coffee cart for staff at the high school in the afternoons. This partnership, which provides work experience for the students and a lovely gathering space for all of our patrons of the library, just completed its 17th year. So we're really proud of that. So on behalf of the staff and the board of the Crete Public Library District, I would just like to say thank you. We're thankful that so many teachers open their classrooms for our staff to bring the joy of reading to their students. We look forward to continuing and expanding our opportunities to enhance the educational experience of the students within the district. Please reach out to us if you have any ideas of how we could further expand the opportunities for your students and how we could work with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next public comment is from our board member, Maurice Brown, recognition.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Mr. Brown.
For those of you who do not know me, my name is Maurice Brown, better known as Mo. And if you really know me, my name is sometimes, or I'm sometimes addressed as Reese, okay? But not tonight. So thank you for the opportunity. I always wanted to do this. It feels pretty good being on this side of the fence. When we talk about our kids, a lot of times we don't have a problem when it comes to bad behavior and identifying those problems. But when we have the opportunity to recognize our kids, I think we need to take the chance and the opportunity to do so. We have had issues in the past where we could not recognize our high school students or the students that was in spring activity because however the calendar year falls. So that's something the board needs to work on. However, this past Friday and Saturday, we had a young lady that represented Crete Monee High School or Crete Monee School District like I've never seen before, all by herself. And as a result, I want to personally recognize her, and that person being Lanika Vance. If you can come up here, Lanika. She's a senior, and she's part of my youth program for Monee Township as well. Lanika, you are awesome. I just want to let you know you are awesome. She put Crete Monee on the map to win 5th place all by herself out of hundreds of schools that participated. 5th place. She got points in 4 events, including a gold medal in the long jump. That is awesome. So I think it's in the genes. I see her sister that I was fortunate to know and run over 20 years ago, who won 100 and a 200 in the state event for Crete Monee as well. So it's in the genes. And correct me if I'm wrong, I see little Ed, but I hope we have the opportunity to recognize the middle school because I believe they won state. Is that a correct statement? 4x100 in state?
They won
Overall as well. So I hope we have an opportunity to recognize them before the end of the school year. And also I heard the boys who's going to run this Friday and Saturday is probably number one going into the event this weekend to win the state champion with the boys track. So I hope we have an opportunity to recognize them. So again, thank you, Lanika. I'm not good at trophies and things like that, and I didn't even get any verbiage, so you need to give this back because I need to get this. I'm sorry, okay? Mo is always going 100 miles per hour, so thank you so much. Okay, and this is a little small one, or a bigger one, a small one. It's a little gold, okay? And she just kind of put the stamp on how good she is. On Sunday, we had our last volleyball game at Governor's State in our youth program. And we get bragging rights between the older people and the younger people competing. And we was just bragging. We only had 1 point or 2 points to go. We was up by 5 points, and she got the ball to serve it volleyball. And she ended up bringing the goal in for them as well. So thank you, daughter. And that's a token from me. And keep doing what you do.
with her. Sure, come up here for me. I'll see all those. Just right here. You too.
Appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Amika, for giving Mr. Brown a reason to talk. He usually doesn't have any much, so. I said, I thank Amika for giving you a reason to talk. You usually don't have much to say, so.
You're right.
So,
Thank you for the opportunity. And one, if I could make just one comment. So one board member did pose the question, I don't know who that board member was, to the superintendent about recognition. So I wasn't the only one, and I think the whole board feel the same way. Thank you.
okay, one last thing before we end public comment. I have an open letter to the district. Dear CM201U families, with the school year quickly coming to a close, I wanted to connect to thank you, our entire school community, for your continued support of our schools. From the teacher who stays late to the parent who serves as a chaperone, to the volunteers who give of their time and talents, to the lunch worker whose diligence ensures the safe preparation of a healthy lunch, to the custodian who fights through the snow to make sure our school buses can safely deliver our students, to our amazing staff, support staff that gives 100% each and every day, Crete Monee School District continues to be a place where academic excellence and community pride intersect to create family. As I think about my own family's rich history in Crete Monee, I realize at the heart of who we are as a district can be viewed through the lens of family connections. As a resident of Crete for over 30 years, I will have the privilege in several weeks of seeing my third child graduate from Crete Monee High School, the same school where my wife, Cheryl, a longtime community business owner, graduated in 1977. I'm grateful to have had the opportunity as a board member to present my daughter, Julia, with her diploma and the Faculty Key Award 2 years ago, an honor her mother had also earned as a graduate of CMHS. As the newly elected president of the Crete Monee Board of Education, I'm both humbled and energized by this opportunity to lead our district forward. I believe strongly that as a community of families, we possess the potential, fortitude, and goodwill to make our district a model in the Southland. I know that I speak for my colleagues on the school board when I say that we are dedicated and determined to allow the change to begin with us. We pledge to utilize our agency as representatives of our own families and yours to roll up our sleeves and work together to achieve our shared goal of offering our children the best possible future. We intend to continue our forward future planning with the completion of our strategic planning process and review of our equity and cultural competency audit. Together, these two important initiatives will result in the creation of a culture and climate that fosters respect, values diversity and inclusion, and validates the opinions and points of view of all of our stakeholders. It's what our families deserve. On behalf of the CM 201 School Board, have a safe and enjoyable summer. Okay, that's it for public comment. Next, administrative updates, Superintendent.
The first item on here would be donations, and so I'm happy to announce Monee Elementary School would like to thank and acknowledge 3 people for the generous donations for the PBIS program. That is Bimba Manufacturing, Brian's Place, and Jackie Munch of Rainbow Enterprises. We certainly want to appreciate them for their generosity.
Okay.
All right, on the consent agenda.
Well, let's first on the consent agenda. Under Superintendent, we have 3 items, 6A3, 4, and 5. These were meeting minutes that were approved at the April 30th meeting and can be stricken from the approval here.
All right, item 6A, number 1, approve LUDA membership 2019 to 2020. Item 2, approve ISB membership 2019 to 2020.
6.
Item 6, special meeting minutes of April 30th, 2019. Number 7, special meeting minutes of May 9th, 2019. Number 8, special meeting closed session minutes of May 9th, 2019. Number 9, special meeting minutes of May 14th, 2019. Item 10, special meeting closed session minutes of May 14th, 2019. Item 11, committee of the whole meeting minutes May 14th, 2019. Item 12, committee of the whole closed session meeting minutes May 14th, 2019. Item B for business. Number 1 would be approval of the copier paper bid from Veritiv Operating Company for 2019 to 2020. Item 2, approval of the prevailing wage ordinance. Item 3, approval of accounts payable. Item 4, approval of payroll. Item 5, approval of treasurer's report. Item C, district affairs. Number 1, approval of board policy updates. Item D, curriculum. Number 1, approval of overnight field trip for Special Olympics state finals. And item 2, approval of amended 2019-2020 calendar.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So move.
Second.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, I do have some questions and comments. First of all, I did mention about the high school boys track team going downstate. where is, are we looking, I know we don't know exactly, well, they are going downstate, so do we have an approval for them to go downstate?
It's not overnight.
Is it?
It's
Is-
overnight.
I'm sure it's overnight.
It is an overnight. We received the paperwork on Monday for them to attend this coming weekend. And because the agenda has to be posted 48 hours in advance and it was not on the agenda, I put it in the FYI yesterday that we would sign the approval for them to go under board policy 6240, which allows when we have these quick turnarounds, if we can't get it on a meeting agenda, that we can approve it.
Okay, so it's in your FYI for yesterday? Okay. All right. And one other thing, as far as the board policies, we were had the liberty to go over numerous policies, changes and deletions and so on and so forth. And I do commend Secretary Galbraith for her diligent work and seeking to make the policies better for the district as a whole. But however, I still have some troubles trying to get my hand and grasp around all of those changes, the deletions, the additions, and all of that. And I voiced my opinion at the committee as a whole, how I believe that the board policies are vital to the operation of the districts. And it's what leads us as a board to do what we do best. And as a result, I think all 7 members should sit down, have a crucial conversation. It may take a couple hours, it may take 3 hours. So to make a long story short, I am requesting that we have a special meeting, the board, to really dissect all of these policies. Because if you go back to December of 2017, all of those policies was brought to us as a 5-year summary, and they were approved. So go back and look at the minutes of 2017 regular board meeting. And then here we are less than a year and a half later with multiple changes. And I heard some of the dialogue at the committee as a whole that says, you know what, this wasn't really a policy because it had the verbiage as guidelines in it. And I just beg to differ. But I don't want to get into all in all the details, so on and so forth right now. But what I'm alluding to is, again, we need to sit down as a board. We had numerous special meetings over the last couple years. One more will not hurt to have the crucial conversations over all of the requested and recommended changes to the various policies that was presented to us at the committee as a whole and up for approval tonight. So I'm asking that we withdraw the approval of the policies. 1 month would not hurt. And we talk about it because there's a lot of things that I saw that could be standalone policies that we're looking to add to another policy. And again, to get into that would take quite a long conversation for me tonight. So I'm asking the board the president to withdraw, or I'll make the motion to withdraw. And if someone can move it from the consent agenda and review these policies, and it'll give the new board members an opportunity to hear more on it, because I just can't see no way that they had a chance to really dissect those policies at the committee as a whole and to have a consensus to bring it to the board tonight to be approved as an action item. I don't know what it would hurt where all 7 board members
This
sit
is for the
down.
last group though, right? This isn't for we've approved everything up to this last group, correct?
It's
So it would
quite a
be for
few.
this group.
It'd be for this group.
Right, okay.
But what
so-
I'm saying,
Yeah.
what she's saying is that we've done this in our prior approvals as well.
Right, it was quite a few, they mirror. It was quite a few that was brought to us last committee as a whole and tonight that was approved back in 2017 in December. So I wasn't sure what that was all about.
So in the FYI, I explained that when you told us to go back and, well, when the board, not you specifically, told us to go back and review those policies to make sure it is exactly what we were doing according to the policies, we learned that there were several policies that were created where there were policies already in place. So those policies were just merged with what has been approved by press. So that's nothing different than what we've been doing this entire year that we've been charged with this. The deleted policies that you're referencing are the ones that I said were written as guidelines or procedures, and that will be placed in our procedures guidelines manual as exhibits along with the others.
And
So-
and you know, you could be correct, but again, just the verbiage and the ones that you're saying deleted and the ones that you're saying shouldn't be a policy, should be an admin procedure. This gives the board an opportunity. There's, again, one that specifically, I'll use the nepotism. You said, no, it should be over in hiring. And I disagree with that. I disagree with that. And I can get into details, but I don't think this is the right setting to do that. Okay, that's just one of quite a few. When I had the chance, the board president said, Maurice, take the opportunity to go over these policies from last week to now, which I did. And I said, you know what, this lends itself, in my opinion, where all board members can sit down, we can talk about it, we can talk about the policies, we can talk about how the admin procedures should kind of flow with the policies, so on and so forth. Again, I'm not taking anything away from the secretary and you as well, Dr. Clark, about the fervent labor that you put into trying to make this right. I'm just saying that this lends itself an opportunity for all of the board members to get abreast of the policies in its entirety, knowing exactly what we got, knowing what's going on with the way things went down. So that's me. If we chose not to go that way, I will be requesting from 3 board members, one being so 2, for a special meeting. So if we don't decided to move forward with what I'm recommending that we do to pull the policies section out of the consent agenda and have a more crucial conversation as a board about these policies and about the recommendations.
So all policies, not just the ones that were.
We can talk about that. We can talk about these, and if we want to add all policies, I think it lends itself to have another conversation about all policies.
I agree. I think there'd be value in having a meeting for the board to review policy and familiarize ourselves better with policy. Since this was the 3rd installment of this review that the Secretary and Dr. Clark have made, and I view largely as administrative kind of cleanup wording changes to align with Press Plus, I prefer to move forward and approve these policy changes as have been presented with the commitment that we have a follow-up meeting.
Okay, again, it was just more than aligning with Press Plus. I get that alignment with Press Plus. That's not the issue. I think it's the standalone policies that over the many years that previous boards have came together and deemed it necessary to create a policy for whatever reason to drive this district. And again, there were certain policies that in and of itself, I was involved with during my time frame that I'm like, hey, this is not the intent. This should not go over there. This should be right here. So, and then it was changed.
I would just like to make a statement. When we first decided that we had to do this because it hadn't been touched, the issue was there were 7 board members and no one could commit to even an hour a week. So at that point, Dr. Clark and I were charged with this process. We have worked very hard on it. We have turned everything into you guys. Nobody has said a word up until today. I understand what you are saying, but we spent over 400 hours on this project. Every time we turned them in, no one said a word. Everyone, if they asked a question, it went on. And now we're at the point where we want to go over every policy again. And to me, 90% of them weren't even touched. They're still the same as Press Plus sent to us. So I just want to make it clear that we have worked diligently. We have given you as we go along what we have done, asked you guys to look at them, asked for changes, corrections, suggestions, worked on all of those. So I, for one, think that having another meeting to go over what we've been going over for 7 months is, to me, I think we were supposed to be doing that all along. And I understand what you're saying, this last bunch, I know there were a couple in there that there were concerns about. I have no issues with addressing those concerns, but we have gone through every policy up to this point, and no one has come back and said, hey, I want to talk about this, or hey, I still don't get this. And I guess just to me, it's been a very labor-intensive project, and we gave you everything as we went along. And to me, I just wish that as we went along, if there were questions, concerns, whatever, we would have addressed them, because now we're going to spend a lot of time going back through things. And I understand this last group. I don't have an issue. I know there was a lot of fixing up in the last group, but all of those previous to that, not one person on this board has ever brought anything to us and said, I don't understand it, or I think it needs to be here, or why did you make this change? So I'm just wanting that to be on the record.
And that's good, and I appreciate it. Again, I'm not going to go tick for tack. And I'm just asking for the opportunity as a board member to say, and again, Janine, it was, I think I pointed out from a secretary point of view that I don't think anybody have recognized over the many years that it was kind of the responsibility of the secretary to kind of go down that road. Am I
It's the
wrong?
responsibility of the secretary to ensure that they're addressed when we receive them from Press Plus.
Okay.
Not for the secretary to do it.
Right, right. And I don't even think that was being done prior to. So I commend you for that. And I'm not knocking you at all. Nothing but data girls. I almost said data boy. Nothing but kudos for you, okay? I'm not doing that, but I'm saying here's an opportunity for new board members to get a little bit more abreast, that we can just sit down and have conversations. And I just see some qualms with some of the policies, recommended changes that's on the action item tonight. That's all.
Any other board member comments?
So my request, again, is I would like a motion to,
We have a motion on the floor.
okay. I so choose to withdraw my motion and add a new motion to approve the consent agenda with and you have something, Dr. Connolly, with the changes that you have made first. Without the changes, it was the changes. What was the first motion?
First was we struck items 6A, 3 through 5.
6A, what, read them again, 6A, 3 to 5, okay.
Mrs. Tobin, seeing as that original motion was seconded, do we need the person that seconded it to also? Okay, just the first.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I guess I'll give, if the president will make the motion.
There's no motion on the floor, so
Right.
you can now make a motion.
Okay, so, well, I would do it.
I think what you,
If I want to include Dr. Connolly without completely to remove. Okay, I would like a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 6 alpha 3 through 5 and table or postponing item C.
Removing it.
Yeah, that's removing. Item C, Charlie. Approve board policies, updates.
is there a second?
Second.
Who wasn't? Is it you, Bill?
Bill.
Dr. Clark, what are the repercussions if we don't approve the policies? Does it,
Basically, it goes another month, and depending on how long it takes the board to come to an agreement, will just put us behind in our adoption. And so we still have to update our procedures to go along with our policies. So the longer it takes us to get these policies up and going, the longer it's going to take us to modify our procedures to follow the policies. So, like I said, it's whatever the board decides at this point, moving forward, and however long it takes to finish up the last group. This is the last set.
Can we get this meeting to talk about the policies before June 11th for the committee of the whole? So we can get it done before the next, so we're not past 30 days?
I'd like a special meeting to talk about it.
Yeah, if we're going to do it, let's just get it done then.
Sure. If I have to take a vacation day, I'll take a vacation day off. If he's doing the day, I'll make it happen. It's important to me.
I don't know. We'd have to look at the calendar. I can't commit to that. So, well, we have a motion, we have a second. Are there any other questions? We can vote on it as is. And if this were to fail, then we can go back to the original new motion to approve the consent agenda with the other amendment, I suppose.
You saying if this motion fail?
If this motion fails, what are you saying?
It doesn't necessarily disapprove the entire consent agenda, just in this, it would just vote it down in this form.
It would vote down the entire consent agenda because you're saying with removal of 6A through 5 and C. So if this fails, the entire consent agenda fails. And you'd have to try it again with a different motion.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? So you want me to repeat what we're voting on? Just for clarity. So we're voting on the consent agenda approval with the removal of 6A, 3, 4, and 5, and the removal of C1. Yes.
Is your concern that if this fails, that the whole consent agenda is not going to be approved? Is that your?
That's my concern.
If the motion is worded to say, remove items 6A, 3 through 5, and 6C1, that could be voted on, and then we can vote on the consent agenda after that. That's a thought.
Terry, you're making things too complicated.
No, I think that's,
A nice scratch out on all this.
Mr. President, I just want to touch on what Terry said. I agree with her because if you vote down a consent agenda, we won't be able to pay any bills.
right.
So I just want to say that. So it's best for you, again, my recommendation, it's best for you to remove those items, vote on them separately. And that, as Mr. Brown had requested, and then you can vote on the consent agenda.
Okay. Mr. Brown, could I have you withdraw your motion?
Only if you promise you will put that.
Good.
Okay.
So if I withdraw it, do I have to start it all over again?
I would
got it.
suggest
We
a
got it.
different
Okay.
motion.
I trust you guys. I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Well,
Can the president make a motion?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I move to remove from the consent agenda approval items 6A, 3, 4, and 5, and C1.
second?
Okay,
So the motion is to remove from the consent agenda approval items 6A, 3, 4, and 5, and C1.
Ruth
I
did.
second it.
Okay, so I just want to clarify, right now, we are voting on removing 6A, 3, 4, and 5, and C1 from the consent agenda. That's the only thing we're voting on right now.
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure everybody's,
Yes.
that we left crumbs so everybody can follow the trail.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mrs. Root,
Aye.
Mr. Sawalish,
Aye.
Mrs. Walters,
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith is an aye, Mr. Albrecht.
Aye. Okay, motion passes, motion carries. So now can we have approval, a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
Second.
So moved, sir.
Sandy?
Root was second. Tell me when you're ready.
Okay, roll call, please. No, are you ready?
You ready?
So, roll call.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mrs. Root,
Aye.
Mr. Sawalish,
Aye.
Mrs. Walters,
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith is a nay, Mr. Albrecht.
Aye. Motion carries? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Now, we would have the opportunity, if anybody was so inclined, to bring back and vote on the district affairs separately.
Yes?
Yes, it was removed, so,
Absolutely.
yes,
Absolutely.
okay. Are there any motions, any other motions regarding the consent agenda approval? Okay, okay. Okay, action reports, business?
Good evening. I'm gonna refer to, and I'll give you some page numbers because I know the board packet is pretty large. But the first topic is about the health insurance rates. So it starts on page 342 of your board packet. And you'll see the board report there. So it's a recommendation that's coming from the insurance committee. The insurance committee is a committee that has been formed, a collaborative committee by our two unions, CMEA and also ACME, along with administrative representation and representation from the Board of Education. Mrs. Roop and Mrs. Galbraith are part of that committee. And they've worked with our broker this year, Vista National, to recommend to the board that there be no increase in insurance rates. When the recommendation came from Vista, there was actually a reduction. They recommended a reduction in rates. However, the committee felt strongly and unanimously to keep rates as they are, and the extra money would then be put into the health account so that we could build up the reserves in there. They're recommending that the reserves be approximately $2.4 million, and right now it stands at about $1.2 million. So it's taking that extra money and putting it aside and putting it in there. What I've done from a budget standpoint is because I wanted to make this clear because there was I think there was some misunderstanding on some things that I might have said at the committee of the whole meeting, that when I did a budget, I budgeted an increase in insurance rates. And so that increase totaled about $160,000 to $165,000. I've used that money, and when I talk about laptops, I'll talk about that. But So that is a savings, and that money was not earmarked for the health account, nor is any of this other money being used any other way but to be put into the health account and that. So I just want to make that clear on that. So that, taking that money away will help pay for something else, that $160,000 that was extra that I had originally budgeted as an increase in rates is not going to be there, and so I'll be able to use that somewhere else. So again, it's the recommendation of the insurance committee to keep health rates the same as they are or as they were from last year. And you'll see a corresponding on page 399 in the board packet. You'll see the rates out there and how there is no increase in any of the rates and what they will be for all of our members and all of our staff.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the 2019-2020 health insurance rates?
Moved.
Second.
Are there any questions?
Again, one concern I did have, and it's great, it's added value that our staff, our employees are not assessed additional costs with insurance. That's a great luxury to have. I don't think there's too many companies that do not assess additional funds or costs for their employees year on year for covering their insurance. So that is a great, again, as I said, a great luxury to have. However, I know we went back and forth with this at the committee as a whole, and you say we got a balance, or you budgeted 165,000. I believe is that what you said, 165K?
Well, the 165,000 was a budgeted increase that I had budgeted. And that, so that is, so when I did the budget, I projected that there would be a 3% increase in health insurance rates over this year. And so that amount totaled to about $160,000.
So long story short, the district was assessed additional funds. It was an additional expenditure for the district from the insurance company. Even though we're
No.
So there was no additional cost for us.
No, there's not.
So we have insurance company out there, we're self-insured, right? And a procedure, whatever, that was $500 this year did not go up, and our employees, as a result, do not have to pay additional costs. Is that what we're saying?
The
The
employees
cost-
do not have to pay any additional costs.
Right.
Yes.
So the cost of service did not increase out there? You're saying that? Is that what you're saying? I'm missing a
Overall, and again, when you look at this now, again, I can go into detail of what the service actually costs us through Blue Cross Blue Shield, because what we pay, part of the premium that is paid is also a service fee that is paid to Blue Cross Blue Shield to manage the plan.
Did that go up?
I don't believe it did. I don't believe it did. I'd have to look at that document.
Since I've been on the board, I have not yet seen where additional cost has not been assessed to us in some manner, way, shape, or form towards health costs.
Mhm.
And we have chose as a district at least a couple times not to bring those costs over to employees.
Okay.
Okay, and we're doing it this year. And I'm saying, even though
We're not doing it this year. The rates are staying the same to the employee.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
We're doing the
okay.
same
I
thing.
thought you said
We're doing
we
it.
were.
No, we're doing the same thing.
Okay, yes.
I just, again, I cannot fathom, and I haven't seen it, I cannot fathom that there's no additional cost on our part as a district in the health insurance arena that we have to pay in some way, shape, or form. I just cannot believe that. So that's my opinion. You're saying it, you have to
Okay.
show me the money.
All right.
Are there any other comments? Questions? If not, roll call, please.
Mrs. Walters?
Aye.
Mr. Sawalish?
Aye.
Mrs. Root?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Abstain.
Mrs. Galbraith is an aye. Mr. Albrecht?
Aye. Motion carries. Item 2.
Item 2 is the 4-year lease agreement for teacher laptops. It starts on page 400 of your board packet. And what this is the purchase of new laptops for all of our certified staff. It is a 4-year lease agreement, and it would be through Wintrust Financial or Wintrust Capital, which owns old Plank Trail Bank, which is where one of our local businesses. You will see in the board packet that the total cost is about $520,000, and then that would be spread over 4 years. It is a $1 buyout lease, so that means at the end of the lease we pay $1 and then we own the equipment. There are 2 proposals that were there. One, because they're Dell computers, we did get an estimate from Dell Financial Services to lease it. However, then in working with Wintrust Capital, they beat that by a little bit, that pricing. So that's why it's recommended that we do that, and also to stay local with this. Paying for these, again, is from the extra $160,000 that I had budgeted for insurance rate increases. So since we didn't need to use that money, I was able to transfer that $160,000 or $139,000 of it, I should say, over to this project. And so it fits into the budget then, plus gives us about a $30,000 surplus that I'm able to reduce the deficit with.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can I get a motion to approve a 4-year lease agreement for teacher laptops with Wintrust Capital?
So moved.
Second.
Any question or comments? Vote, please.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Aye.
Mr. Sawalish?
Aye.
Mrs. Walters?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith is an aye. Mr. Albrecht?
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. The next one,
Yep.
the next one is regular pupil transportation services. Starts on page 406 of your board packet. And we had a lengthy discussion about this at our committee of the whole meeting concerning termination agreement and any penalties that are in the contract. So I'm going to take a little bit of time just to share a couple of things with you on that. So in your board packet, starting on page 409, is the transportation service contract. And I want to touch on this because it is a contract that was developed by our lawyers. And what it does do is it takes, and I'm just flipping through here. Okay. So on page 6 of this contract, which is page 414 of your board packet, it talks about the right to terminate on breach. And so you'll see some indications where we can terminate the contract. And then on the next page, page 415 of your board packet, which is page 7 of the contract, we are, the school district, I'm going to read verbatim, the school district may terminate the contract for any reason or no reason, with or without cause, upon 120 days advance written notice to the contractor. So it does give us an out or 120-day notice that we would have to give to the contractor. Now, the contract starts approximately August 1st. So that means if you back it up about 120 days, you're looking at probably about April 1st that we would have to notify them in writing that we want to terminate this contract. All right. Which is, again, plenty of time as far as I'm concerned to go out to bid and get things done if we wanted to seek out the services of another vendor and that. So that contract is the same in all 3 proposals that you'll see that are coming before you, both for regular pupil transportation, for special ed, and for the alternate special ed. The other thing that I am going to mention in the contract, and the way the contract is worded, is that, and that's on the first page of this, and I'm going to refer to page 409, what becomes the contract is this contract, the bid proposal that they submitted, and then the addendum to the proposal. So all of that becomes the contract, so the district is covered on terms and conditions. Nothing is left uncovered on that. So all of that becomes a contract. It's just not this, it's all of the proposals. You have all of those in the board packet. You'll see all those things. They're, quite honestly, it's about 600 pages of things that are in there, but it's all in there. So that's the way this contract is worded for transportation purposes to make sure that the district is covered. Okay?
Thank you. Are there any questions on item 7A3?
So, again, we only had one bidder.
Yes,
We put it out, this is the only lone bidder.
yes.
And what was the reason again for, because I think the whole board, at least the majority of the board, saw this bus service provider as a non-responsible vendor. But what's the reason again that we are invoking on a 3-year contract as opposed to just 1 year?
I think there are a couple of things, and I'm going to give you some, at least from what I understand it, from history of the district, that every vendor this district has had, there's issues with. I mean, that is the nature of transportation. There's always going to be issues because you really have to rely on the act of God on a lot of things. There may be rain, and that may keep buses late. You know, there's situation with drivers. Those are always going to happen. So there's always going to be issues. I think the key is how we manage those issues, we being the district, and how we manage those, and by putting penalties into play if there is an issue, and then evaluating that at the end of the year if we want to terminate that contract and move on. The reason for the 3-year contract is because what First Student is saying to us is that we are going to get you new buses. One of the complaints that we had was the age of the buses. And so in the contract and in the bid specifications, they are going to get new buses. Nothing will be older than 2017 for their entire fleet that they utilize here. In order to do that, we need to make a commitment to them of a 3-year commitment and that, because they use it as capital assets for them and use it for clients. There are a lot of companies that will not bid to get extra business right now in transportation because of the shortage of drivers. That's just one of the natures of the beast that we're seeing out there when you talk to everybody, whether they own their own buses and run their own transportation services or they are contracted services, there's just a shortage of drivers. And so new businesses or other businesses, other contractors just won't step out because ours is a pretty big contract. I think we run something like 60 buses or something like that. Maybe it's 50. But that's a big investment they have to make, and then a number of drivers that they have to get, and they can't make that commitment.
What we want from them is reliable service, regardless if it's new buses or old buses. New buses should not be a stipulation on us having a partnership with them. Is that in the contract of the 600 pages that they will provide us with new buses?
Yes.
So, and that's part of the contract. So that's part of awarding of the contract that they are providing us new buses.
I think
As opposed to they should provide us with reliable service.
Well, that is also in there too, though. That's also in the contract about about the scope. When you talk about scope of service and all of that, that's also in the contract of what do we expect from them. That's all in there. And so you look at it as a whole, and that. You know, the same thing where First Student had bid on our special ed services also. But again, I would recommend to the board not to award them special ed because I think it's best that we have a variety of companies providing these services on that, instead of putting, for lack of a better term, all of our eggs in one basket.
So if they come out, hypothetical, and I'm going to end this conversation. So hypothetical, If they come out with a 2014 bus,
then we have a monetary penalty that we will penalize
so
them.
who's going to go out and evaluate the buses?
We do actually. We
go out
actually
and-
do.
So we
Gloria,
go out and audit the
Mrs.
buses.
O'Neill does that. We get a list of buses that they're supposed to have that are numbered, and then every once in a while we check those.
Can you provide, moving forward, the board, at least I would like a copy of an audit that you perform on
Okay.
the bus.
I can do
Okay,
that.
thank
Sure.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Can I have an emotion to approve the proposal for First Student to provide regular pupil transportation services for 2019-20, 2020-21, and 2021-22.
Moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? No, I'm just asking the board if there's any further discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Nay.
Mrs. Root?
Aye.
Mr. Sawalish?
Aye.
Mrs. Walters?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith is a nay. Mr. Albrecht?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Item number 4, is there much discussion or should we just?
It's the same contract, except the names have changed on both of those
Okay.
also.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the proposal from American School Bus to provide special education pupil transportation services for 2019-2020, 2020 and 2021, and 2021-2022 at the district's discretion?
Moved.
Second.
Are there any questions? Not, roll call, please.
Mrs. Walters?
Aye.
Mr. Sawalish?
Aye.
Mrs. Root?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith is an aye. Mr. Albrecht?
Aye. Motion carries. Can I have a motion to approve the proposal from Hopewell Services LLC to provide special education pupil transportation services for 2019-20, 2020-21, and 2021-22 at the district's discretion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Root?
Aye.
Mr. Sawalish?
Aye.
Mrs. Walters?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith is an aye. Mr. Albrecht?
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, Human Resources. Can I have a motion to approve the certified staff employment, certified staff leave of absence, certified staff return from leave of absence, certified staff reassignment, certified staff resignation, educational staff employment, educational staff leave of absence, educational staff return from leave of absence, educational support staff reassignment, educational support staff resignation, and educational support staff intent to retire?
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Neal?
Thank you. And the personnel report reads as follows. For certified staff employment, Matthew Baloris, Sarah Gruber, Sarah Haddad, Monica Kalish, and Patrick Wirtz. For certified staff leave of absence, Lena Miller and Ashley Stashniak. Certified staff return from leave of absence, Teresa Peterlin, Miriam Sufrant, and Susanna Zirkel. Certified staff reassignment, Donna Bajik, Guadalupe Martinez, Heather Matuziak, Jontel Perkins. Certified staff resignation, Sarah Gammerdinger, Jonathan Wright Ruby, Kathy Tade. Educational support staff employment, Karen Gillespie, Ashante Oliver, Kristen Udis. Educational support staff leave of absence, Kelly Ryan, Jody Vanderzee Dirac, Yolanda Wozni. Educational support staff return from leave of absence, Cheryl Heinlein, Bridget Johnson, Kelly Ryan, Jody Vanderzee Dirac, and Yolanda Wozni. Educational support staff reassignment, Donna Bilo, Donald Brunner, Jeannie Groen, Patricia Heiss, Jennifer Lisowski, Jennifer Santamaria, Maria Cerna, and Elvis Slaughter. Educational support staff resignation, Laura Brook, Mika Brown, Elizabeth Jamilo, Denise Katz, Tanya Perry, Candace Rashke, Emma Rigo. And educational support staff intent to retire, Deborah Milkars, Denise Redmond, and Carolyn Verbeck.
Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Root?
Aye.
Mr. Sawalish?
Aye.
Mrs. Walters?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith is an aye. Mr. Albrecht?
Aye. Motion carries. Can I have a motion to approve the 2019-2020 administrator contracts?
Moved.
Second.
Any questions? So, let me go back.
These were contracts with no monetary.
No, the salaries are
Verbiage.
the same, remain the same, as we have not made any recommendations regarding non-union salaries at this time.
Are you guys going negative? You want to give something back?
Who knows? We have to make the recommendation.
All right.
Now this as proposed covers, well, maybe it'd be better if you explain what this covers.
Well, what is being covered here is just an annual renewal of administrator contracts, most of which have already been automatically renewed since no action was taken to dismiss. And there are several contract changes in language. So what we are approving is those language changes, which essentially, based on the motion, include a couple of life insurance adjustments for compliance purposes, and the reassignment of 2 elementary deans to be elementary assistant principals, and also the reassignment of one of our coordinators from a 10-month to a 12-month contract. And then, of course, based on the motion, that would include the insurance for administrative insurance for all administrative deans as well.
I thought
I thought that was pulled.
Okay, well, then it would not include that.
So- Okay, so who had, who,
I don't have a computer, so you
So-
have to tell me what that is. Mine's-
who-
Can I alter it?
Pardon me?
Can I alter it?
No, you have to withdraw it first and then.
Screwed up my sheet now.
So are you withdrawing your
Yes, I am withdrawing.
motion? How should we write up the motion?
So we, perhaps if there was something in the contract.
If you're trying to approve all administrative
Okay, so this
contracts,
is the,
with the
we're back.
exception of the
Okay,
high school
okay,
administrative
okay.
deans.
okay. So let me step back. May I have a motion to approve the 2019-2020 administrator contracts as presented with the exception of high school administrative deans?
Moved.
Second. I didn't get what that was. Motion to approve.
With the exception of the yes, administrative deans. Thank you, Mr. Neal, for the clarity. Are there any other questions?
Again, can you just reiterate why we did that? Are we at liberty to talk about that in open session? I think we should be. Why we chose to remove the high school deans.
It was requested that the administrative dean contracts be considered be discussed further at the June Committee of the Whole based upon the addition of the administrative insurance. So it was requested from me that I pull those contracts and that we approve the remaining contracts, and then we would act on the administrative dean contracts in June. So there'd still be sufficient time for them to be renewed before the end of their term.
Which is
June 30th.
June 30th.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments?
Are they going to be communicated with? Because they're
I'm sorry?
expecting, are the deans that's affected by,
I met with them and spoke with them about it, yes. Met
So
with them
they-
personally,
so they know?
yes,
And how many are we talking about?
4 individuals.
4.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Lyle.
Okay. Roll call.
Mrs. Root,
Aye.
Mr. Sawalish,
Aye.
Mrs. Walters. Aye. Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith is an aye. Mr. Albrecht,
Aye. And then on item 7B3, information regarding the following item has been presented to the board via the board book prior to this meeting. Up to this point, there hadn't been any questions, so I've been asked to ask for a motion to approve the notice to remedy for certified employee number 2019-009, Tammy Winter.
Moved.
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none. Move to roll call.
Mr. Sawalish?
Aye.
Mrs. Walters?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Present.
Mrs. Root?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith is an aye. Mr. Albrecht?
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Do we have any old business?
I would like to mention that we have deleted the good news section on our agenda, and I would like to see that reinstated. There was proof here today that there are good things going on in our schools, and we're here in the business of education, supporting our students, supporting our staff, recognizing, sharing their joy. I would like to continue the good news. It takes 5 minutes. We find out all about different things that are going on at the schools that we may not know about. We get to see some of our students. We get to hear what's going on, and I really, really want to bring that back to the agenda.
Okay. Thank you. Any other old business?
I just want to allude on that same note. I agree with Secretary Galbraith. Again, that's where we are in business. We look at our mission statement and we have to recognize those students academically, socially, and emotionally.
It's good
Okay.
for my emotions.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
You're welcome.
Any other old business? Okay. Any new business?
I do have one new business, more of a kind of I don't want to call it an issue. I think it's just an opportunity to get it right. At the last committee as a, no, it wasn't committee as a whole, it was a closed session that involved Dr. Clark, myself. There was a couple of public people waiting to attend the open part of the special meeting. And I guess the board was in open session. I did not attend the closed session part of that meeting. And the board was in open session. So anytime the board is in open session, the public is allowed and should not be hindered to attend that open session portion of the meeting. That was not the case at this particular meeting last week. So Dr. Coglanese, I ask you to share it with your cabinet, your administrators, board president Nelson, that we understand that we do not keep people out of a public meeting. So if I saw it wrong, please share and speak now.
I will be more than happy to speak. Thank you for allowing me to do so. So first, let me start by saying in my years here, when we were dealing with matters pertaining to student discipline, even though there's been an open session, we have never run over where public would have been where the audience was able to come in and actually see who this student is, which is why we give them an identifying number to begin with. So yes, I did let them know that they could come in. They had a choice to come in, but I did explain why I was requesting that they did not. And it was to basically protect that child because you saw the condition she was in. Well, you didn't, Mr. Brown, because you were not in closed session. So, but I did give them the opportunity to come in and they chose not to. One of the three that were there chose to come in, which was fine. But what happened at the end of that is what I was trying to avoid, which was that child breaking down in front of all of these people. Now, I understand that there is policies, but we are talking about what we are doing is about kids, and this is about a child and protecting a child. So I truly don't understand where there is a problem, although I do understand what you're referring to as practice and policies. So I did let my superintendent know exactly what I had done, and I take full responsibility for that. But at the same time, I'm going to say to the Board of Education, and please forgive me because I mean this in the most respectful way, that my kids do come first. And I will do everything that I can to protect them. And at that moment, that is exactly what I was doing.
If you don't mind, I want to say something. What Dr. Clark is right. If you put yourself in the position of the parent, would you want someone else in there when we were talking about that student in closed session? Today, we talked about an employee and we used a number. It was not against bringing someone in the public in there. It was protecting the child and their family. And I think when we have a situation like that, I don't think our intention was to run till 6:30, and we weren't hiding anything, but we were trying to protect the student and the family. So I understand there's policies in place, but for sure.
And that's not a problem going past the allotted time. If you protect, we have these numbers to protect people. We protect the employees, the students, and all of that in closed session. So if we saw that, we should have remained in closed session, period. You can't break the law.
Well,
That's
the only thing we came
No,
out
but
of
we have
closed
to come
session
out
to
of
do
closed
is to adjourn the special meeting.
And the
Right.
actual issue with the young
We have
lady
to come out of closed
occurred
session to do that.
when she was leaving, and that's why I got her in the ladies' room as fast as I could so that the crowd wasn't around her. It was
Mr.
when
Brown,
we adjourned, and that's when it took place.
I did express concern before we scheduled that meeting about having a special meeting to discuss discipline prior to a scheduled committee of the whole meeting, because I want to make sure that in those situations, we give the student adequate time to consider whatever action is necessary. And I was very concerned that we'd be rushed coming up to the 6:30 beginning of the committee of the whole. So my preference, I understand what you're bringing up. My preference in the future is that we try not to schedule those concurrently.
Either
And
that
so
or we just allow more time.
Yeah,
you know?
so-
We have two things. And
So-
I
Well,
think
the board, our board
I
agreements.
just don't want to
Yeah.
break the law, and definitely I do not want to make matters worse for a student or their family. But we have to abide by the law, period.
Our board agreements had said 5 o'clock, so if the board would like to switch that time for special meetings to 4:30, then that would be something I would need to know.
Yeah, I think you can take it a case by case, I would imagine, but that lends itself for another conversation. I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other new business? We have no need for a closed session tonight. Can I have motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Yeah, 7:54.